It's never cute.
It's recording already.
Oh, good. All right, here we go. 5, 4. All right. 2, 1. What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, back with another episode of Cooking with Jordan. Today, we're going to be making jambalaya. First, I want to give a quick shout out to everyone out in my Houston family. This includes Zach, Pam, Kim, Papa Gary especially, and Grammy Pat. Thank you so much for introducing me to all this Cajun food. I know I made an episode last time on gumbo. This week I'm making a jambalaya. I never gave the proper credits or credentials, whatever, to you all. So I just wanted to shout out to you and shout out to my infamous photographer and videographer and roommate, Santiago. Fantastic camera work. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. To make this jambalaya, let's go ahead and start with our ingredients over here. It's another roux-based dish. So we're gonna be using our oil and our flour. And we are gonna move on to the seasonings. So we're gonna be utilizing salt, garlic powder, pepper, creole seasoning right here, cayenne pepper, Cajun seasoning. We're gonna be adding some bay leaves to this as well. Onto the fresh ingredients, minced garlic, our trinity right here, our onion, some bell peppers, celery, and our green onions. And then onto the meat of the dish, we have chicken. For chicken thighs, always go with chicken thighs. They're not gonna have the bone in. We're gonna keep the skin on. That's gonna help a lot of flavor. And lastly, we have some Louisiana Hots Sausages. You can use any type of sausage. And Julie sausage is also really popular with jambalaya, but I always like to use Louisiana Hots. And last, we have rice. We're gonna be using that in the jambalaya. And let's also move on to the cookware. So the cookware, we have a big pot. We're going to be keeping this on the burner the entire time. You need a nice big pot because we're gonna be putting a lot of stuff in here. You don't want it too tall. A nice big bowl to hold our vegetables and a couple of spoons that we're gonna be using for the roux and to cook the mixture and serve it up at the very end. Now, a couple of things I want to do before we get started, just a couple of mistakes that I made while making this jambalaya. I've made it now a couple times, so I just want to run through a couple of the mistakes I made. So the first mistake I made was using bone-in chicken thighs. The way that I like to make the jambalaya is to really have the chicken sit in the jambalaya for a while. It tends to fall apart. So if you use bone-in chicken thighs or any type of other chicken, it's gonna really disintegrate. You get a lot of chicken bits in there that you don't want, part of the bones and stuff like that. So whenever you're using chicken thighs, go ahead and completely debone them, leave them open like this, keep the skin on. Second mistake I made was using too big of a pot. Now the pot that I'd used initially was in my gumbo episode. It's a really big, tall pot. It worked really well for the gumbo because we were stewing a lot of liquid in it for a while, but when I tried making the jambalaya with that same pot, it all just kind of stuck together. Everything cooked really unevenly. It was just a big mess. So that's why I had graduated and moved on to this big pot right here. Huge space inside of here to be able to cook all this inside of it and be able to cover it, which I really like. Those of you who are curious, I have gotten this at Costco. It's super convenient. I've cooked a lot of different stuff in here, and it's been a really great use of my money. The next mistake that I made was using brown rice instead of white rice. Brown rice takes a really long time to cook versus white rice. White rice you can let simmer in the jambalaya. Anyone who knows how to make both brown rice and white rice knows that brown rice takes a lot longer to cook. And finally, I have been tasked with making a vegetarian portion every single time that I make something. So I'm going to explain to you how to make a vegetarian jambalaya as opposed to a meat and jambalaya. So with all the ingredients here, now with the sausage, you can actually use vegetarian sausages, whatever that would entail for you, whatever works best for you. You don't need to use this type of sausage. It'll take a little bit of the flavor away because this is a Cajun style dish. Louisiana Hots Sausages utilize seasonings in the sausage that are very good for the Cajun portion of this dish. However, you can use vegetarian sausage. That's always an option. Completely omit the chicken. You don't need to use that. You're gonna get a little bit different flavor just because you're not using anything that's chicken based, but again, it is an option. And lastly, we move on over here, are our various broths. So we have chicken broth, which we're gonna be using today. If you don't have this type of broth, you can use the bouillon because it's a very similar situation. You just use the bouillon cubes or use the bouillon and you'll be able to make your own chicken broth. And then similarly, we got vegetarian broth right here. You can also use it as bouillon. It comes in cubes, and that is how you can substitute out chicken broth for vegetarian broth. It's gonna give you pretty much the exact same thing. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and prep all of our vegetables, get those all together, and let's go get started. All right, here we go. Now we're gonna cut the green onions. The green onions, we're going to be doing a similar situation as with the gumbo. The bottom half of the green onions are gonna be stewing in the first part of when we're making the jambalaya, and then the second half, the top half, are gonna be used at the very end when we're making the jambalaya. So here we go. So now we're gonna move on to the next portion. We're gonna start by searing off our chicken. We're gonna make sure that it's nice and crispy on the outside. We're gonna pull that off, and then we're gonna start making the roux. Now while we're waiting for the pan to get hot, let's go ahead and start seasoning up our chicken. Give a nice little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of garlic powder. All right, now our pan's nice and hot. Let's go ahead and add our oil. Get that all started. Make sure the oil gets nice and hot. We're gonna want to sear off the chicken. Sear off the chicken.
How many times are you gonna say it?
Sear off the chicken. It has to be nice and hot. Sear
Okay.
off chicken. All right, while we're on there, let's go and do another coat of seasoning. Now. As the chicken's cooked up a little bit, go ahead and take them off, move it up to the side. And the whole idea of cooking this chicken beforehand is just to make sure that it's cooked all the way through when we add it to the jambalaya. Nice and hot. Let's go ahead and start adding our roux. A cup of oil. Let's let that sit in there for a little bit. Get it all nice and hot. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and put some tin foil. All right, let's go ahead and add our flour. Cup. All right, let's go ahead and mix that all in there. Let's actually time this to see how fast we can make this roux. Here we go. Here we go. Our roux is starting to change consistency a little bit. You see right here how it's starting to clump up a little bit. Starting to change color. So it's that nice sort of white blondish color. Now it's starting to darken up a little bit. With the roux, you're going to want this to be at about the color of, say, maybe a Hershey's chocolate bar, like a penny. Be nice and dark. And keep moving it around. See how it's clumping up? These areas you can easily burn. So you want to keep moving it all around. And those dark bits you see there are from the chicken that we were cooking previously. All right, 5 minutes, not bad. So this roux right here is a little bit lighter than I had described it, but we're gonna be adding in our vegetable mixture. We'll go ahead and let the roux sort of cook down a little bit more once we add our vegetables in. This is our mixture. We have our celery, our bell peppers, and our onions in this mixture. And again, like the roux before this, you're gonna wanna keep moving it around. Make sure that doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. If it sticks to the bottom of the pan, then it's gonna start to burn. We don't want that. You notice how the roux in the background at the bottom of this pan has already started to change color. It's reached that sort of dark chocolate penny consistency that we have been wanting it to be at. And I'm just gonna keep moving around like this a little bit. Probably give it about 1 more minute. All right, now at this point, we're gonna go ahead and start adding in our chicken stock. We got 6 cups right here. Just gonna go ahead and add this in. Go ahead and start mixing this around, get that all nice and incorporated. I got chicken stock in there. Now at this point, what I like to do is I have to go ahead and grab the bottom portion of our green onions. Go ahead and add them in there. And then we're gonna follow this behind with a little bit more seasoning. Also, minced garlic, I'm gonna add that in as well. We don't wanna add this in too early. If we add this in too early, it's gonna burn. Minced garlic really likes to burn when it's in high heat for too long. So we're gonna add this in while it's all stewing though. It doesn't burn while it's in. We're gonna add probably about a tablespoon. Go ahead and add our seasonings. So we're gonna add just a little bit more salt. Not too much though, make sure you don't over season it. A little bit more black pepper. And since we already added garlic, we don't need to add any more garlic to it. A little bit of creole seasoning. Just a tad bit of cayenne pepper. Some Cajun seasoning. And then finally, let's go ahead and add in 1 bay leaf. A little bit of flavor. Stir that all together. Let the flavors get to know each other a little bit.
Are they besties now?
They're besties.
Okay.
All right, so now we got our mixture behind us. We're gonna let this simmer for about an hour. So you're gonna wanna bring it to a boil, let that start boiling for a little bit, turn down the heat, let it start simmering for a little bit, and we're gonna stick it on about 1 hour. We're gonna go ahead and clean up a little bit here, clean up the workstation while you're waiting for this hour, and then we will see you shortly. See you in an hour. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. So, all right, everybody, welcome back. It's been an hour. And now we're gonna finish up our jambalaya. We're gonna cut our sausage right here, add the rest of our fixings, and then we'll be good to go. Let it simmer for 30 more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and eat. Let's get started. We're gonna start with cutting up our sausage right here. Remember, this is the Louisiana Hots Sausage. Chop it nice and small. Bring it around. Add our sausage to this to the mixture. Next, we're gonna add green onions right here. Remember, these are the top half of the green onions that we had chopped up earlier. This is where we're gonna add our rice. We're gonna go ahead and mix everything together. Now the last thing we're gonna add, remember that chicken that we had earlier? And we're just gonna add this, stick it on top right there. Just for a little bit of flavor, once you go ahead and dump in those drippings. And then to top everything off, a bit more seasoning. Add some black pepper onto this, creole seasoning, and a little bit more cajun seasoning. Mix this all back up together. Right now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and cover this up. We're gonna crank up the heat a little bit. We're gonna let this simmer for another 30 minutes, and then we're gonna be all set to go. So I will see you in 30 minutes. All right, and here we go. In 30 minutes, here is our jambalaya. All right, now all I'll do is gotta serve it up.
Oh.
All right, and there it is, jambalaya. Nice and simple. It's a nice, really hearty dish. It'll last you a couple days. And now I gotta go do the dishes. So I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.